Hello and welcome back to the last Fatal 12. On the last episode we told our story to Naomi, who offered her help, which we have accepted to some degree. There are better ways I think Naomi could help us, but obviously I suppose they're thinking more emotionally than they are logically and rationally. Anyway, after we told Naomi and she offered our help, we returned to the lion's. I forgot what it's called. It's not a lion's den, is it? Or is it just the lion? I think, or whatever it is. We're back at the coffee shop where this lady, who I'm personally presuming is a member of the divine selection, seems to be hinted at that. She seems to be dressing us by our name, which might be the information that others have sent out, but who knows? Anyway, time to find out what this lady's deal is. So, but it's the same dread that I feel from competing with people like them that allows me to remain calm here and now. Compared to them, she looks like your average woman. Slender and pretty, although you can tell she looks overtired. There's no doubt she's been getting a little sleep. Is this over the games, or because of her personal lifestyle? Because she could be a mother, which is unfortunate. She's wearing what I believe to be a shawl atop a hospital gown. She's a nurse. Oh, that's bad. Tell me, what's your cause of death? What's your regret? Okay, so she is trying to kill us. My silence makes her all the more agitated. Was it suicide? An illness? School? Love? Answer me. Okay. Why do we look suicidal? Why is your first guess suicidal? You need to calm down. My patient starts to wear thin, which causes me to place my hands on her shoulders and shove her away from me. I must have pushed her a bit too hard. She stumbles backwards. It's not like she can die while playing this game. She falls and lands on the hard concrete. Oh, sorry. I apologize without thinking. Showing sympathy to other participants, my enemies in other words, probably not the best idea. Are you okay? I ask but receive no answer. So she's scared that she's going to be nominated next. That's what we can presume. She's found us, someone she has information on, and that's why she's asking for the rest of us, the rest of our information. All she does is stare down at the ground and mutter something to herself. Following that, she collapses under her own weight. Oh, hey, are you all right? I need to call an ambulance. No, it's fine. So don't call an ambulance. I can get by myself. Fine is the last thing that comes to mind when I look at you. Just don't. Her sentence trails off there. Judging by her steady breathing, she must have fallen asleep as opposed to having passed out. I spot the name of the hospital she was admitted on, written to the hem of her gown. It's only 10 minutes walk from here. Fine. She doesn't want to get an ambulance for whatever reason, but I can't just leave her here. Fortunately, she's rather light, so I opt to give her a piggyback ride. This is tougher than I thought it'd be. After I lock up the store, I proceed to the hospital. Okay, we're about to learn this lady's name. When I arrive, the nurse I speak to showers me with praise. It's hardly surprising. I think most people would praise a high schooler who has obviously exhausted herself by carrying a patient all the way to the hospital in the middle of the night. The nurse wastes no time in taking you away, so I guess she really is a patient here. So did she steal a nurse's uniform? Thanks to this, I managed to learn her name as well. Keiko. Kamebuchi? Either way, Keiko. While she's always had a frail disposition, things have gotten worse for her once she gave birth. So she is a mother. Oh, did she die during birth? That's unfortunate. That really is unfortunate because, like, then you obviously you spend the time that you got given alive to learn the child that otherwise would be born without you. That is already tragic. That's already... If I'm right, this game's already throwing us in a tough position. I don't try to pry any deeper. I don't doubt they would have told me much anyway. The only reason they told me as much as they did was to make sure I knew who it was that I had helped out in the first place. Actually, shouldn't that give me a new card? Parker mentioned that we obtained new cards whenever we discovered vital pieces of information in the real world. Alright, I need the book. Chances are I didn't get one because I don't have it with me. I'm aware of the importance, but I tend to leave it behind since it's heavy. I mean, do we necessarily need it on us at all times? Either way, I should leave, considering visiting hours is long past. Curious as I am about Keiko, I make my way back home. I mean, it's unfortunate for her because on her attempt to try and survive the game, she's giving away more information. Because we know that she has a card about us, and we know her name now, so she lost the advantage she had. Once I return to my room and get ready for bed, I take my seat at the table on which my book rests. Well, this is new. Little bits of light are pouring out between the book's pages. Needless to say, this is the first time I've seen this happen, in the real world no less. I take a moment to prepare myself as I open the book. It's gonna be a new card, right? Whoa. Then what I do, the light begins to rise above the book itself. What's going on? All I can do is watch as it eventually congregates. It congregates into one spot almost 2 feet above my table. It eventually molds itself into a rectangular shape. Well, to be more specific, the shape of a card. Once the transformation is complete, the light dissipates. The card floats in midair for a brief moment before it quietly lays itself to the rest of the top of the book. So this is how a new card is made. Can't hide my surprise over witnessing something a little like that happening in the real world. Something similar happened in the dream, but it's a whole different experience when it happens in your own room. I picked up the newly formed card. It's exactly the same as the others I have in terms of shape and make. The only difference is the content written on it. Number 8. Name. Kamebuchi Keiko. As expected, it's Keiko's name card. That's all though. I still don't know her cause of death or regret. I would assume giving birth and leaving the child without being able to raise. Or maybe the regret is getting pregnant. We don't actually know her personality that well because maybe she was giving away the child to begin with. Like she got pregnant, thought, I'm not a good suit for this because of my health. I'll give it to a couple who I can trust, or even just leave it at an orphanage. I don't know what her thought process is, but it's a possibility. So the cause of death is more easily guessable if she did die during birth. Anyway, she was hospitalized after giving birth, right? In that case, it has to be related to that. The first element that comes to mind is childbirth is, ouch. My head starts to hurt all of a sudden. It doesn't take long for me to realise why either. I feel I just remembered how desperate Keiko looked. The way she acted earlier proves that her regret ran deeper than I could comprehend. What am I doing now is akin to walking all over that. The more I try to imagine the circumstances of her death, the worse the pounding in my head becomes. That's when I remember Naomi's proposition that to shoulder the burden along with me. I'm not prepared to handle this alone quite yet. Today's done a good job of showing me just how weak I am. I mean, I was going to compare it to the train accident where you protected Naomi, because that's a pretty bold move, because you're putting someone else's life above your own. Instinctively, humans would protect themselves. Rather than thinking about this anymore, I turn my light off and choose to sleep instead. Are you even able to? I mean, it looks like you were. Yo, Rennie. Morning, Mao. I noticed Miharu getting ready for classes as usual when I arrive at school. Seeing her reminded me of the realization I came to yesterday, which prompts me to say something to Mao. Miharu really is strong-headed, isn't she? Or strong-hearted. The difference of where our mindsets went, I guess. You think? I'd say it's the opposite. Her voice and tone are lower than usual. Huh? Anyway, let's get back to a daily grind. She returns to her usual self what? Oh yeah, she usually turns to her usual self right away, almost if to avoid continuing on with that topic. Once school had ended, I met up with Naomi before heading over to the library on our way back from the line. That's what it was, the Lion House. Fortunately, the library is only 5 minutes away from the Lion House, and on the very same path I took to get to the hospital last night. I'll make sure to fill her in on what happened last night as we make our way there. Her first reaction is to express concern about me. She crinkles her nose when I mention that Keiko seems to have had a rougher go on life than I have, but then sighs in relief afterwards. Once at the library, we gather up some books regarding pregnancy. Whoa, I just realised, what if her frail nature, or frail, health, had complications with the birth? So the regret is that she may have, both of them may have passed away during the process. Again, this game's throwing the difficult thing at us immediately. Because to be fair, right? If I was in Rinka's position, I would gather the cards regarding Keiko, but I don't think I'd be willing to nominate during the night. Which could, since Rinka's obviously position number 1, that's the worst place to be. Part of me doesn't want to at first, since we're all painting a rather dubious image of ourselves. Then again, this isn't the time to be worried about that. Having gotten what we need, we make our way back to the Lion House to spread the books out on the tables. Alright, let's see whether or not these have any kind of information regarding illnesses or complications that I could have linked to a cause of death. Right. She announces the plan with seemingly little issue. Well, I mean, that's true. We could visit the hospital during visit hours, just for casual conversation. Because, I mean, even just observing might give us something. I can tell she's forcing herself to act composed. Normal people like us shouldn't have any reason to investigate someone's death like this. I mean, death in quotations, because at the current moment, they are not dead. It doesn't help that it feels like we're digging into someone's private life without consent. That's one of the reasons behind my headache last night. Not to mention that, in this case, it's about someone who's still alive. Yeah, see? I pick up one of the books closest to me. While thinner than the card book, it's still packed full of text. At least, right, here's the thing. Especially, well, we all know how I am with the reading. I'm lucky enough to have images to go along with the text, so it helps paint the picture. Obviously, medical books and educational books will have diagrams and stuff as well to help paint the picture. Storybooks, on the other hand, and just books full of text, a lot harder to pay attention to. I could be reading along, and then suddenly I'm staring into space for however long it's been, and I wouldn't even notice. So then I have to read again. And end up still staring at the same spot. Staring at space, not reading. So I don't know how I could manage this, Rinka. I'd go with the social approach, even if I'm not the most social person that I know. I'd still try and go visiting hours. Though I guess, like, you know, the books are useful to have when we're not in visitation hours. So, right, anyway. I probably shouldn't try my hand at the book like this when I absolutely know nothing about medicine. Thinking that, I pick up another book, only to reach for the same conclusion. The only stuff I read other than manga are novels, so ideally, there'll be something a bit simpler among all these. As I think this over, it leads me to repeating the same scenario over and over in my head. So then I honestly just take the thinnest book. I'll start there. Rinka? What's wrong? Are you not well versed when it comes to books? Well, actually, I just had a thought because Rinka can communicate in any language despite not knowing it or not believing to know it. Does that also apply to reading? She's using the book in her hand to obscure her face from below the eyes, which are glued to me. So is she smiling? Not really, but I mean, aren't these a bit too difficult? You should have said so when we were at the library. I could have picked out some of the simpler ones. That makes it pretty clear that I left Naomi in charge of picking out which books to get. I figured that that'd be best, considering she's a bit of a bookworm. I mean, all the more detailed the better, right? So I take it you're not a big fan of studying then? No thanks. I nod my head after a brief hesitation. I wouldn't say I'm bad at studying, but there's no point in putting up a front, especially when my grades tell a different story. I'll give it a shot though. Can't let you do all the work for my sake. Yeah. All I can do is agree. I pick up another book to peruse. Oh, peruse. I'm stupid, see? I can look at a word and not even know what it is. Sorry, so peruse the table of contents. Naomi hides the part of her face behind the book, but I can see how focused her eyes are on the contents. Two hours later, I feel my concentration vanish into thin air. Let's take a break. I mean, you're at a tea house. What? Honestly, a nice cup of tea to you know, refresh yourselves. Oh, Naomi's already gone. Naomi? What is it? Dang, your concentration level is off the charts. How about a quick break? Well, it sounds like a good idea. She closes her book after I make my offer. I guess you finished reading that one too, which makes a total of 3 so far. Meanwhile, I'm still stumbling through my first. Yep, sounds very accurate and very relatable. There's a difference in reading speeds between someone who reads often and someone who doesn't. Who doesn't is rather striking. This game's attacking me now. I brew up some coffee for the both of us and bring it over to the table. Thank you very much. I feel like this is the first time in a while that I've gotten to have some of your coffee. You might be right. I like how also, obviously behind the text, the books are piling up, the tea's appeared. I've spent so much time teaching her how to make coffee that I actually haven't had much opportunity to make some for her myself. It's always nice watching Naomi drink the coffee I make, considering how much she seems to enjoy it. I mean, I'm not much of a coffee drinker. The way that my family has tried to get me to try coffee is to make it more like tea. That being said, obviously, it's brewed, it's poured into a cup. Personally, milk has been added. No sugar. Just to weaken it a bit. I mean, I can drink it that way. I don't know. If you somehow get into this far into the video, let me know how you drink your coffee or tea. Just conversation. And, because obviously you can have different blends. Explain the difference in the qualities that you've tasted of the different types, blends, brews. Well, also I guess the tea bags, I guess. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So I managed to find anything worthwhile. I picked up something myself, in truth, but asking for Naomi's input first seems like the best idea. I did. First of all, it turns out that there's an extremely likely mortality rate for women during childbirth. I'd be surprised if somehow the male mortality rate was higher. The book I've been reading says the same thing. Based on a study in 2014, only 3 out of 100,000 mothers died while giving birth. Only 3? That's honestly amazingly low. Good job, medicine. I'd assume Keiko is in her 20s or 30s. I mean, she did look young. Late 20s maybe? Early 30s? Even if the latter, there's only a 0.003% chance of it happening to her. For comparison's sake, a person's much more likely to be involved in some sort of fatal traffic accident than that. I mean, true, but to be fair, a childbirth only happens once every 9 months. Whereas a traffic accident can happen every time you leave the house. I mean, there's also the fact that technically, childbirth only involves 2 people, whereas traffic accidents involves potentially a whole lot more. This stuff actually caught my attention while actually reading, because it'll be relevant for me at some point in my future. I suppose Rink is looking forward to making a family, and I didn't need to know that, but we know that now. Seems like Naomi read about the same study. You'd think we were revising test materials together or something. I mean, that's a good cover. You are students. Doesn't the fact that there are a few cases make it much easier for us to determine the cause, though? I mean, I suppose so, but there's still the chance. It may be a very low chance, but still. I thought the same myself, but how much information do we need to be able to turn it into cards to begin with? The cards I have that detail the cause of death are like stuff like fire, so I assume you just need the general idea. I see. You mentioned that the process involves giving thoughts a tangible form, didn't you? How can you... A name as a tangible form? Yeah, but it's all not like I know exactly, like I know how it actually works. Yeah, I doubt a name could be a tangible form. I mean, someone also regrets. Because especially if you regrets like another person's name. Like, for example, if you liked someone. Anyway. In that case, it's likely you need to believe in your thoughts for them to be considered a tangible form. Fair enough. See, that's an actual explanation, I think. Where you can just... were you confident? Okay. Now the conversation's getting a bit complicated, I take a moment to mentally sort out all the info. The process behind making a new card involves giving information, thoughts rather, a tangible form. Parker explained that much herself. How does one distinguish which piece of information is correct and turn that into a card then? Sorry, I should have explained it in simpler terms. Basically, I'm curious about the circumstances around which a card is created. For example, one would be made if you happen to correctly guess the cause of death or regret while having a casual conversation with someone. No. Or do you need to state the details loud and clear with certainty, like one would be presenting evidence in a legal trial? I believe so. Honestly, I feel like that's the best way to make an example out of it. Now I get what you mean. I cast my back for the past 2 weeks. Well, hold on. Again, right? We know the second participant's name, because it's Miharu's. Why haven't we got her information? Well, at least her name. I'm not the most chatty person, but I've definitely had a good number of conversations during that time. Chances are good that I've discussed things related to or relevant information, so by that logic I should have some extra cards already. And yet, yesterday was the first time I obtained a new card. In that case, it's probable that the latter scenario is required in order to make a new card. I feel like it's the latter myself. If the former were the case, one could likely read through an entire documentary and hit upon everyone's cause of death and regrets. Yeah. See, Naomi's helping, as she said she would. I forget how I was feeling at the time, but she's showing her worth. Her dedication to save our life. That does sound very thrilling. Or it doesn't? Or it does? I'm assuming it does. I'm sure people would resort to such a method if they know their lives are on the line. That serves to remind me about how desperate Keiko looked. I could tell she had a specific force driving her. Knowing that, chances are high that she'd read through all kinds of stuff if it meant possibly obtaining more cards. It seems it's the same reason behind why you can't obtain a card detailing your own cause of death. I believe we need something more concrete than your hazy memories or in my dreams. So in the end, it's all up to me remembering the exact details of what happened that day. I can't see myself doing that today, at least. The fact is that it's yet to come back to me. It probably means that I need something specific to trigger my memories. Could recreating the events cause it? Like, obviously not the explosion of the train, but going to the train and bumping into the other participant? I pushed through the thoughts anyway, and Naomi had the topic at hand. This is my personal conjecture, but it seems that blood loss is the most common cause of death during pregnancy, meaning the same would apply to Keiko. Knowing it's not enough though, is it? I need to understand the precise details that led to the occurrence in the first place. I like any new cards materializing proves my point. Do we have the card next to us? Books alone probably won't give us the answers then. How about I pay her a visit then? Then again, I'd probably get kicked out first. I mean, I don't think she's the type to kick us out, especially if she wants our help. Well, I'm more aware of how much my hair causes me to stand out. I still think your hair's fine. Oh, what is it? I said we should take a break, but this hardly counts as one. I gotta hand it to you. You're really reliable when it counts. Glad I could help. Even though I'm glad I could hear it. I'm glad to hear it, sorry. I say that, but I can tell she's pushing herself pretty hard. It's clear that from the way she's speaking that she's more nervous than usual. I mean, she's doing a really good job. The same goes for me as well. There's no way we could have a happy chat about someone's possible cause of death. I mean, I think the best way to think of it is obviously think of it more like a game and kind of desensitize yourself to it. It is a bit morbid, I think, but like the more you can disassociate the 12 people in the divine selection from the rest of the world. I'm not obviously a professional, but like the healthier I might be. However, I'm not getting a headache like when I tried to do this on my own. Her being here to shoulder part of the burden really does make things easier to bear. Now the issue is how we go about digging deeper. Oh, I forgot that I brought some sweets with me. I didn't make these myself though. Saying that, she produces some chocolate, which I happily partake of. The sweet sensation that spreads throughout my body is almost enough to make me shiver with joy. I mean, to my knowledge, chocolate has something. It's good for dopamine. You really can't be. You can't really beat a good dose of sugar. They do see that it's good for your brain. See, my mom always brings me some when I'm studying. What is it? I just realized the simple solution. If we want to accurate info, then we should go speak with her family. Isn't that a bit dangerous? Risky, sure, but there's a lower chance of me being caught than you. I should have go in plain clothes since you carried Keiko to the hospital in your school uniform. Wouldn't she have asked not to reveal anything about her? I'm fairly certain an adult like her would have reservations about bringing up a dream world to others. If anything, she'd advise them to keep quiet about any specifics. She has a point. I had no issue telling her everything, and there's no way I'd tell one of our teachers, for example. I mean, I wouldn't tell anyone because it would sound crazy and people would think I was just making it up. Still though, I think for that, I'll call it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed. I thought it was a nice little bonding moment with Naomi. So, yeah, with that, goodbye.